It wasn't that long ago, it was only just a few years ago, I was doing sessions like this around Queensland for the new Queensland syllabus, which was released, I guess, in 2004, is that right? And here I am again, it seems like I said a couple of years ago, we were doing it for national curriculum, and national curriculum has been talked about since, well, some of you older than me would know, because I started in 1990, and it was certainly talked about back then, and even when I was in university they were talking about in the late 80s. I think it would go way back before even the early 80s were talking about getting national curriculum. And it's finally happened, which is a good thing, because now we have ACARA is responsible for not just the national testing, but writing the national curriculum. So for the first time, we're going to have a national, testing a national curriculum. We have been the only English-speaking country in the world where we've had national tests, but we haven't had a national curriculum. And for so many reasons, Queensland have struggled in that test. But now it's finally aligned, which is a very good thing. And obviously they're responsible for the reporting as well. The content, or the focus of the curriculum is going to be very different, but also the flow. So you're going to have new content in there, because it's just new to the curriculum as opposed to Queensland syllabus. But it also might be new to you in grade 4, for example, because it's moved down from grade 6. Or maybe you're in grade 5 and it's moved up from grade 4. So it's the flow, it's the sequence of when it's being presented, and also new content. And the focus, as the last three words here talk about, the focus is on building a deep understanding. So whenever a decision had to be made by the writers, they decided that they would always choose depth over breadth, which again is a good thing. Rather than, the curriculum has been jam-packed with an awful lot of content, and it's very hard to get through it. Well, they've taken some of that out so you can concentrate on developing deep understanding on what's left. Right? In fact, one of the criticisms, if you like, of Go Maths that when we had it out there was very much so, it's just too much to get through. And yet when Calvin and I and Rosemary and others were working on it, we actually did not include everything that was in the curriculum. You just couldn't do it. So we had to make a judgment call on what was the essential components, and we just worked on those. The Queensland syllabus was broken into levels. New South Wales syllabus stages and bands elsewhere. This curriculum will tell you exactly what to teach in each grade. If you're in grade 3, this is the list of content you're going to make sure you expose your children to. And on that note, I've given you a printed copy of the national curriculum as it stands today. That was going to be released, the final version, yesterday, 1st of September. And first yesterday, but they couldn't reach that. They couldn't meet that date. I called them yesterday, and they said it will not be released in September. It'll be a month that follows soon thereafter. And I said, will it be by the end of the year? And they said yes. But that's not in writing, and therefore it's not in stone. Okay, so it may yet change. We're expecting it actually informally. We're expecting it in October. So not for the first time, but you will know what to teach and when to teach it. And when you look at page 2, we're giving you a highlighter because you might like to go through and just highlight some key things. So my plan here today is I fully expect that some of you will need to go back to your school and do a mini presentation, either one-on-one with maybe your principal or with the committee or to your whole staff. So what I'm going to do is, at the end of this presentation, I'll show you how you can download this presentation. By going to our website, you download it. It's not a PowerPoint though when you download it. It's too big a file. This is too big a file. It'll be a PDF of this presentation. So you have now the national curriculum in front of you up to grade 6, that is. So if there's any high school teachers here, I've only done up to grade 6, and you'll have this PowerPoint to help you. So when you look at page 1 and 2 of your document, you'll see it has content strands and it has proficiency strands. The 3 content strands are such: number and algebra, measurement and geometry, and statistics and probability. Now just take note of the words that are used. It doesn't say chance and data. There's no wishy-washy space and shape, if you like. It's geometry. So the words themselves are implying more rigour, correct? So it's very much a mathematics curriculum. So 3 strands now instead of 5. And although all 3 appear at every grade level or year level, they're given different weighting. So in order to focus and give in-depth knowledge on this area, they've had to cut back at something else, and this is an example. In the early years, they decided, let's focus on the nuts and bolts of mathematics, let's focus on number. And it might be to the detriment of something like probability. But they figure, if we do this now, they'll be better founded or grounded, and they'll cope better with that at a later time. So I don't think that's a bad thing. And we have 4 proficiency strands: understanding, fluency, problem solving, and reasoning. And this is on the front of your diagram and in front of your curriculum. This is the diagram they use to explain that basically these 4 proficiency strands should be embedded across the content strands. So everything you do in your lessons should draw on these strands, be it number and algebra or one of the other content strands. So that's their diagram. I kind of like this one, and I like it because it was taken from this book, Adding It Up, and that is one of the books which the writers referred to in writing the curriculum. And you'll see in here there's a diagram that's very similar to that, but it happens to be 5 strands, as the term says, strands, in this piece of rope. So this rope might be on additive situations, should draw on each of these proficiency strands. So I like that description. You can also consider it like this. This was additive situations. Every vertex of this shape would be your proficiency strands. And if you want to think about those, I guess another way you can think about them is understanding as being concepts. Fluency, think of like procedural skills, right, being able to compute. Reasoning is you're working mathematically, which we're accustomed to from our Queensland syllabus, and problem solving is your applications. Problem solving is there. Our 2004 Queensland syllabus did not even make mention, I believe, of the word problem solving. Yet it was a major focus of the 1987 mathematics curriculum. The major focus of the curriculum which lasted more than 20 years. But it's back again, problem solving. So the point is that all, and I've already said this, I guess, all 4 proficiency strands need to be embedded in all activity. So, concepts, fluency, reasoning, and problem solving at this point. And in that way, I guess you can build on it and make sure you give it a decent foundation for what follows. What is familiar in this document, if you were to study it, I mean, you could just look at your own grade and you'll see major changes, but if you were to look right across the grades, you're going to find some things that are familiar, and one of them is it still stresses mental computation. Mental strategies come before the written. That's quite evident. If you have to develop a deep understanding of mathematics, you need the visual models, and just simple visual models like this. Be it the tens frame, in this particular case 9 plus 5 is the same as 10 plus 4. So just give them a simple visual model of the mental strategy they need. Or it might be a visual model like a number line or a hundreds board. So lots of those models which are required to give them a bigger picture. Working mathematically, which is in the Queensland syllabus, well, in their terms, this is clarified by the process strands, or proficiency strands, I should say. And language is still important, most important. If you're trying to give them a deep understanding of mathematics, take an example like subtraction. You want to give them a deep understanding of subtraction, you can't just show 12 take away, or dare I say minus 7, and when they read that they read minus, and what does that mean? It's very abstract. And they need to know that subtraction is more than just take away. Subtraction can be difference, can be missing out, and you've got to bring all that lovely rich language which can be brought out through stories, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. What's different? In grade 3, or year 3, you're going to be asked to do pictographs and dot plots. So just so you know how much of a change it is, if you're not in that grade, that was in grade, essentially it was in level 4 of the curriculum. So year 7 is probably a place where we would traditionally do it. What's a dot plot? Something that looks like that. So we use dot plots to show numerical data as opposed to categorical data. So in this particular case, number of teeth lost by age 8. A certain number of children lost 5 teeth by age 8. How many children? The 4 children lost 5 teeth by age 8. How many children lost 8 teeth by 8? Okay, so that's a dot plot. Decimal fractions. We traditionally teach tenths. Traditionally, in Queensland, we teach tenths in year 4. That's being pushed to year 5. And the reason being, it enables you to develop a deep understanding of whole number. And look at this statement. All the way to million. And that's not 2999999 or whatever it is. It's not 6 digits, it's 7 digits. It's 2 million. And actually our references to beyond. In fact, why don't you grab this curriculum? Turn to page, I've got mine marked up here. Well, you'll see year 4 starts at page 27. But page 28 at the very top is numeration. The reading, writing and ordering numbers to 1 million in year 4. Where do we usually go? How far do we usually go in year 4 in Queensland? Traditionally, 4 digits. Year 4, 4 digits, year 3, 3 digits, traditionally. And now we're going this giant leap from 4 digits to 5 to 6 to 7. Right? Year 5, we're bringing in the decimal fractions. So 1/10 is introduced in year 5, but 1/10 as a common fraction could be done earlier. Right? Could be done in year 4. Great emphasis on common fractions, so we start operating with common fractions in year 4. And I'll touch on this in a moment, but we start that in year 4. We start operating with related denominators in year 5, and you know what year 6 is going to be, right? It goes to unrelated denominators in grade 6. And again, this is the one aspect I'll pick on this, and I'll do some more. I'll show you some more when it comes to common fractions. Another big change is in year 6 you're now doing integers. So this is the first for Australia. No state-based curriculum had integers in primary school. And it's now down, and the teachers I was working with yesterday saying that was in grade 8. It's now pulled down to grade 6, year 6. Right? So it's an example of contextual situation involving integers. If the temperature was -2 degrees and it dropped to -7, what was the change in temperature? How would you describe that? It's essentially fallen 5 degrees, hasn't it? So it's a change of -5.